Welcome, everybody. I'm Marc David, founder of the Institute for the Psychology of Eating. Here we are in the Psychology of Eating podcast, and I'm with Juliet today. Welcome, Juliet.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. And I want to know from you if you could wave your magic wand and get whatever you wanted with food and body, and it would come out of this session. What would that look like for you?
That's a tough question, but the first word that comes to mind is freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Just being completely free from attachment to a specific way of eating or a specific way of looking.
Yeah. So, what kind of way of eating and what kind of way of looking are you attached to that you'd like to have freedom from?
Well, it's been many iterations throughout the years, and I think that happens a lot as you dive into the world of health and nutrition. I'm 32 now, and I was thinking about this, but I have been thinking about how to eat since I'm 12. It's been a long time to
Mhm.
just thinking about what am I going to eat today and what serves my body best and what's going to make my body look a certain way. And the iterations that I've had through that are I've had a lot of challenges with that from when I was in my late teens into my uh, mid 20s with a lot of like binge eating and over exercising and a lot of body image stuff going on. I ended up becoming a personal trainer when I was 18, which looking back in retrospect, and I think a lot of people who get into the health and fitness industry, you're really trying to figure it out for yourself. And it's not about serving others necessarily. It turned into that for sure. I fell in love with that and helping people, but it started off as I want to fix myself. I want to learn how to eat so that I can look a certain way, so that I can feel a certain way. And I ended up going to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition because of that, wanting to learn more about food. I ended up graduating from the Institute for the Psychology of Eating in 2012. So it's been this really long journey of even when I was detaching from certain behaviors I had with food and exercise, like overeating, over exercising, binge restrict kind of thing, there's always some attachment in terms of, you know, how I identify myself when it comes to the way that I eat and the way that I look. And because I think this identity was created being in my industry, being in health and fitness all of these years. And, you asked me if I may wave the magic wand, and it's like freedom from any kind of attachment and associating that if I eat a certain way or look a certain way, then, I'm putting this in quotations, like I have it all together, you know what I mean? Or things are going like in my favor. So, yeah.
So, if you were eating exactly how you think you should eat, the way that you're attached to that if I ate this way, everything's great, I'm perfect, how would that look?
It's funny you say that because I've been thinking about this question a lot because I really stopped eating like, you know, in the way that I thought I should be eating for so many years and just started eating like what I wanted to eat. And it's been a really long time of doing that. And then I started to question, well, is this me being at my healthiest, eating just kind of what I want and trying to questioning that balance all the time. But, I think that I have been conditioned to believe that eating clean, eating organic, or eating, you know what I mean, eating protein and lots of vegetables and healthy carbs, or however it's been indoctrinated into my brain that that's the way to eat, and and then the more books you read, the more inundated with information you get. And then it becomes even more challenging in a sense to be like, I know how I should be eating. That intuitive way of eating is even harder to listen to because
Mhm.
part of this stuff really interests me from like a science perspective. I really love learning about food and nutrition and the best practices of for longevity and all of that. But then when you're someone who has struggled with that attachment, then it becomes, it turns into like the pendulum swings the other way.
Hmm. So when the pendulum swings the other way for you, what does that look like?
Uh, Questioning myself and feeling like guilt, if if I'm, even if I'm continuing to do the things that I've been doing, it looks like sabotage in terms of starting to eat things that I don't really want to eat, but I'll eat them because it's like a way of, I like to say that I'm someone who likes to like push the envelope. So I've been in this almost like rebellious stage for a while now where I'm like, well, how much can I get away with? How much can I eat before my body does change? And then I have to face that. And then I have to face who am I without this body that I've attached to for so long. This is the place I'm in right now. It's an explorative place that is also at times really uncomfortable and um, scary.
What are the foods you'll reach for if you're being a rebel?
Sugar, definitely
Mhm.
sugar. I mean, I'm in a place now where I am changing my whole life and schedule. I had just owned a fitness business for 11 years. And over the pandemic, I decided to leave it.
Wow.
And so I am pretty much reinventing myself in a way. And I, have a totally new identity in a sense. So I've noticed that with this new identity comes different behaviors and thoughts. And so, last night, a Monday evening, eating, cookies and ice cream. That wouldn't have been something I did on a Monday evening when I was just working in the fitness industry and had a specific schedule that I just kept me from having that more expansive freedom to be like, oh, well, I'm just going to eat cookies and ice cream tonight because I want to. But then comes well, maybe that wasn't the best idea. There's like a tape that starts to play in your head.
So when you question yourself like that, where do you go? Do you go into uncertainty, confusion, guilt? What would you say?
Not so much guilt anymore. That was definitely like an old narrative that I would play because then I would just like over exercise the next day out of that guilt. But it's more of the uncertainty. It's this uncertainty of who am I becoming?
Mhm.
Now with this, who is Juliet that isn't the fitness instructor, the fitness studio owner? Who is just Juliet, the person who is eating cookies and ice cream on a Monday night?
Mhm. I love it. That's a great question. That really is a great question. Are you married?
Yeah.
And how long have you been married?
A little over 3 years.
I'm going to guess you don't have kids yet.
No kids.
Planning on it?
I don't think so. I say that now, but obviously I didn't expect to leave a business. So no one knows. But right now it doesn't appeal to me.
Okay. And are you wanting to lose weight?
Yes, I've always wanted to lose weight, but I don't want to lose weight. Like I don't want to lose weight.
Yes, but you want to lose weight.
Yeah,
But
since
yeah,
I'm 12 years old.
understood. So the part of you that wants to lose weight, if I'm talking to her, how much weight does she want to lose?
Like 10 pounds max,
Uh-huh.
8 to 10 pounds,
How much would that put you at?
like 125 pounds.
Uh-huh. Have you been at that weight in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years?
I got to 126 and it was a really bizarre time. It was like a month where I wasn't really eating because I was sick. There was something going on where I just felt like food didn't appeal to me and I was having almost like I was nauseous all the time for a month. And I went to, a physician. I see like an integrative medicine doctor, and she just said she thinks I was just fighting off a really hardcore virus. And my body's response to that was to not want to eat and to feel like it needs to focus on healing, not digesting. And it was the only time I've had that experience where I wasn't, I didn't want food. And I have to tell you, I was like, I fucking love this. I wish that I could be in this space more where food wasn't something that I wanted. And it was like a natural, like, oh, you're full. Oh, that's all you can eat. It was like this portion control that happened for a month. And I was 126 pounds. That was about 2 years ago.
And how long did that last for you?
Probably like maybe a few months
Hmm.
in terms of before I got back to where my like weight was after that, like back to my like my normal set point that I have a set point that I really don't lose weight and I really don't gain weight.
So in an ideal universe, you change your set point.
Yeah. I mean, I would like that.
Yeah, totally get it. Totally get it. So you're in this place where you want to lose weight, but you want to not want to lose weight. And have you already sort of transitioned out of your business?
This is my first week.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah.
So what do you think your next business iteration is going to look like?
Coaching for sure. I mean, I have, you know, been coaching in terms of working with people on this kind of work and supporting people with their health and their nutrition for, the last decade, but not in a way that I really just focused on that because I was focused on running a business and 30 employees and 15 trainers and all of that stuff. So I kind of like put that in the back seat. And throughout just my own healing that I've been doing for so much of my life, I really want to help other people heal and support them. And not only in what, body image, food stuff, but in just in life stuff in general. So that's what I know I'm moving towards is just as a coaching practice. But I also need some time to heal right now.
So when you say you need some time to heal, what do you experience yourself healing? Is it more an inner kind of a healing?
Yeah, it's definitely an inner kind of a healing. And it's like, again, this identity that I've had for so long that, how I identify myself and now stripping myself of that and really like looking at myself from a raw place of that big question, like who am I without that? And what do I like to do? What do I want to do? How do I want to even eat? How do I want to, what kind of schedule? These are things that I had created these regimens around for so long because that's the lifestyle that I had. And in doing that kind of work, it's really raw, uncomfortable work. I'm working with a shaman right now who's also a therapist. We've been working together for many years, and she's been really helpful. And I've gotten a lot of energy healing work over the last few months. I'm starting a Reiki training tomorrow night. So there's this whole space that I'm moving into that feels really right for me. But the healing, just more like I just need space. And I've always been someone that has stacked myself and run myself so like um like always on the edge of that burnout, especially being in fitness because it's so physical
Yes.
that I haven't given myself space. And it's like I'm looking at it like when you end a relationship with someone and then you just jump right into the next relationship, how sometimes detrimental that can be because you didn't give yourself enough time to reflect and to just be you without some external thing.
Sounds to me like you are very conscientiously cleaning house, making space, and slowing down and allowing yourself to be in a certain amount of uncertainty.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel good. I mean, on Sunday I had a meltdown and I expect lots of them.
Oddly enough, I'm really happy for you. I was talking today with some of my staff, and we were in a conversation about the healing journey and how so many of us at different times in our life, we just embark on this journey. And for a lot of us, that's our entire experience of life. But sometimes it just becomes very much more deliberate. Like I'm on a journey right now. And when you embark on the journey, oftentimes we're just leaving a lot of things behind because you can't take everything with you. So you pack your little suitcase with your essentials, and you kind of know that you're not being where you used to be. You're heading out in a direction, but you're not exactly sure where it's going to take you. And in the middle is uncertainty.
Yeah, it's I had this crazy dream probably this morning, when you're in that state of sleep where you can have more of the vivid dreams. I don't know, I forget what it's called. But it happens when I nap or when I go back to sleep. And this dream it was so symbolic in that I was in New York City, which is where I was born and raised. And I am in a hotel room with a lover whom I don't know who this person is. They're just represented as a lover in my dream. And we are having an argument and we're fighting. And I say, like, we're done. And he's like, we're done. And he leaves. And then I'm in this hotel room by myself. And I go to my phone and I say, who can I contact to help me right now? So I start contacting every ex relationship I've been in. And I FaceTime an ex-boyfriend and he's like, I'm not available to help you. I'm married. I'm with someone else. I try to call my current husband, which is funny in the dream. He doesn't pick up. Then there was another relationship, there have only been a few in my life that are like the significant ones. And I go, oh, I can't reach that person. That one's way over. And then I say to myself, no one can save you, Juliet. You only have yourself. You're going to need to get yourself home. Because I was like, I need to take a train home. So I go to the subway. And in order to get to the subway, to the train, apparently in this dream, I go through a tunnel, which looked like a portal. And this is the way that I would always go to this train. When I go through this portal, there's an opening. But on this particular day, the opening wasn't large enough for me to slide my body through. So I go, well, it looks like you're going to have to take the stairs. And then I woke up. Pretty significant dream this morning, guys.
Right.
I was like,
Right,
holy
right,
shit. Past, this is the way I've done things. This is what, can't go that way. There's stairs. If you can take this way, expansiveness. There's so much to that I could dissect. It's crazy.
Yeah. The part that caught me relative to at least a big part of this conversation is the end, where the portal that you're normally going through isn't big enough to fit you. Part of that says to me, who you're becoming is bigger. And when I say bigger, I mean bigger in spirit, bigger in soul, bigger in consciousness, bigger in awareness. So the old ways that you go just aren't big enough to contain the new you. Taking the stairs, interesting. So would the stairs be going down or up?
They were going down into the subway, which
Yes.
is kind of like, to me, the underground, the unconscious.
Yes, for sure. So yeah. The subways are that. I grew up in the New York City subways, and going down steps in the dream or going down the elevator, usually about going down into the unconscious. And at the same time, you know, I wonder about the symbolism for your own body in a strange way. That, oh, this body doesn't fit through the old kind of patterning, the old pathways.
Well, I've been really thinking about like the concept of like masculine and feminine energies. And I have been in such a masculine energy for so long with how I ran my life and my body in terms of going really hard and being the fastest and the strongest and bodybuilding using heavy weights and building this muscle, this armor, right? And when I'm talking about becoming more expansive and really opening myself up to like bigger, more possibilities, there's this feminine aspect to that, which is the softening and the relaxing and the slowing down, which also doesn't really fit this whole like big muscles workout, have abs, you know? And it's like when you said like bigger life, bigger, I'm like, maybe even a bigger body. And something that my therapist said to me is like, who are you if you're soft? Who would you be if you're softer? Meaning, even if your body was softer. It's
I
very
love
scary.
I love that question for you. And what's going to happen is because you've come from the past that you're coming from, very fitness oriented, very nutrition oriented, sculpt and craft a body and make it fit and make it hard and make it strong and make it as tight as you can. And that's great when you're doing that. And it is what it is.
Hmm.
And you know, you don't have to believe in past lives to believe in the fact that we have many lives, even within this one lifetime.
Oh, 100%. I mean, we have all these different, I mean, I'm not the same person I was back in 2012 when I graduated from, your school that I am now. I've had all these different, I feel like, people that I've been in a sense.
Yeah. And you're incarnating once again, and you're not exactly sure who that is, but it's sounding to me like you have a very clear willingness. Uh, Despite the discomfort, despite the uncertainty, you have a very clear willingness to sort of go down the birth canal, go down the steps, go down this new path, and let's see who comes out the other side.
Yeah, I keep
And
talking about this whole idea of like, I feel like a part of me is dying, if that makes sense.
oh yeah, yeah. We shed sometimes in order to put on a new, in order to reincarnate within your own lifetime, to become a new person, a new expression of you. We have to let go of something, and oftentimes a lot of somethings. We're just letting go.
Hmm.
So it doesn't surprise me that you could eat, ice cream on a Monday night or whatever it is, and you're not certain, well, is this right for me? It's it, I've been having this conversation a bunch of times lately. I love it. I love talking about transitions because transitions are very different from whatever normal life is. There's the time when you're in your business and you're living in your house or your apartment, and things are kind of predictable, even though stuff happens.
Hmm.
But you basically know what your persona is. You know who you are, you know where you're going, you know what you're doing, you know what you think you should be eating and how you think you should be looking and showing up. And in times of transition, definitionally, we don't know who we are. And we're going from a known to an unknown. And in times of transition, we generally need allies. We generally need patience. We generally need a lot of room to explore, to make mistakes, to be messy. Transitions are often messy. Even
Yeah.
if you're moving from the greatest place, I mean, from the worst place to the best place, moving is still a transition and it still has its
Yeah. And that's the
difficulty.
thing. That's the deep knowing that I have is this next, I keeps using the word iteration because that's what it feels like. This next iteration of me and, is, I know that it's better than the last. I know it, but that doesn't take away the feelings that I'm having right now with all of I don't know what it looks like. I cannot predict the future and I can't make it go faster, nor, should I want to. I should savor this experience. But it's been a while since I've had this because I worked so hard to have stability because I had so much instability as a child and had so much trauma that it was like mastering the stability. It was the greatest thing that ever happened to me was being able to have that the last 10 years. Like I needed like 10 years of predictability, stability, marrying my husband and like healing a part of me that was so like severed from being a kid and going through so much stuff. But now I was feeling this sense of like, I'm so bored.
Hmm.
I was like, I'm just so bored. Like, I want more. This is like a Groundhog's Day. And when COVID happened and we were shutting down, fitness studios and all the stores, I prayed to the universe to be shut down. Prayed. And I said, no business owner would pray that their business would just go away. And I was like, it's obvious that it's my time to move on.
So you know it. There's a part of you that knows it. There's a part of you that's very clear. And I guess everything is going to shift. And when things are shifting, we sort of throw the cards up in the air. So right now and for the foreseeable future, I would expect, given what you've shared so far, I would expect to see you and hear you experimenting with food and diet.
Yeah, which kind of scares me because I thought I was over that phase of my life in a sense because I did so much experimentation to, again, try and find the perfect way to eat to look the perfect way, right? And so there's this fear that I have to make changes in that aspect, but also there's this curiosity that I have, right? And a letting go of certain things. I said to my husband, I don't really feel like eating breakfast lately. This is weird. I've eaten breakfast every day for this many years. What if I don't eat breakfast? What will something bad happen? Will I gain 10 pounds? There's like definitely this attachment like that I have still.
Yeah. Food is often our relationship with food is often a metaphor for our relationship with life. So our relationship with food will track our relationship with life. And you made the comment that I thought I was done with experimentation with diet. Well, you're done with that kind of experimentation, I think. And you're doing a whole different kind of experimentation. Previously, you were trying to find, I think, the right way to eat so you could be in control of your health and your fitness and your physique and your personal satisfaction. So you wanted diet to hit that sweet spot. And now you don't need that so much. It's not your deep desire. Your desire is for something different, and you're not quite sure what that is. You don't know what's on the other side. So, your answer to my question when I said if you could wave your magic wand and get what you want, what you said was freedom. And this to me is the road to freedom.
Like it would be freeing to not eat breakfast one day in
Oh,
a way, like if I don't want to, I don't have to.
yeah. You could have chocolate for breakfast. You know, you could have ice cream for breakfast. You cannot have breakfast for 5 weeks. It ultimately it doesn't matter. because it's your journey and you're seeing, okay, I'm drawn to doing this. What's going to happen? How does this impact me? How does this make me feel? Is
I'm
this a
even
direct?
really drawn right now in this to not eating for an entire day,
Yeah,
like just fasting for a whole day. Because there's this like again, I the attachment that I've had to food, it doesn't feel like this dire control thing anymore. It feels more like a way to almost learn more about myself and my soul by saying, you know what, today we're going to just what if we don't eat today? Not from any kind of disordered thought process. It's really just this like curiosity of like what would it be like if I spent a day just not consuming anything, maybe journaling, reading, not having, I've never done that in my life. That would have scared me. I would have been like, there's no fucking way I could ever, oh, sorry, I don't know if I can curse on here, but there's no way I could ever do something like that, you know? Like in terms of how the scarcity mindset that I had for so long. That's been an interesting that I've been like, oh, that could happen.
yeah. I find that, and really, this isn't for everybody, but I know in my own life at some point in my journey with food and my own personal exploration into nutrition and what works for me and what doesn't work for me, at some point, I let go of all rules, all of them, just everything. I don't care. And letting go of all rules then resulted in, okay, now what? And from that place, I just watched myself experiment. I watched myself gravitate towards things that maybe I was craving, that maybe were from my childhood, foods that I used to label as bad. And now I just want to eat them. And what's going to happen? Is God going to punish me? Am I going to die? Am I going to lose my percent, or gain more percent body fat? Like, what's going to happen? And so much of our nutritional rules, once we let go of them, what's left is who are you as a human being? And what's food for you? It's like, what's it for? And, for me, I know food it's I need it. I'm a human being. I'm a creature on planet Earth, so I need food. Every creature needs food. So I know it's a biological necessity. But when I let go of rules, what I notice is what's left are my values. What do I value? So for me personally, I value health. I value energy. I value pleasure. I value feeling good. I value flexibility, nutritional flexibility, meaning I want to be able to, if I'm going out with a bunch of people, I like to not have to be the weirdo all the time. I'll be the weirdo. I'll eat the gluten free and the dairy free or whatever, but sometimes I don't want to be that guy. So I value organic food that supports the environment. So all I'm saying is you have values, and your values are in so many ways what helps define who you are. Previously, the value was my body is my billboard. My body is my advertisement. Therefore, whatever food I eat contributes, adds to, or takes away from my billboard. And that's an important value for me because I'm a fitness person and I want to look a certain way, have a certain clientele, be a certain businesswoman. That's all great. I got no problem with that. And that's not you and so much
It's
anymore.
just very limiting when I think about that, in terms of even other fitness professionals out there. It's very limiting and it's very binding, to be in that space where your body is your billboard. And it's like I'm trying to like deprogram myself right now
Yeah.
from this way of being like and operating. It's like I'm trying to debug myself. Like I have all these
Exactly.
programs that are in here, and it's not that easy though. It's much easier to go back to the way that you've been doing things because the safety, right? That's a with that.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
much easier to say I'm going to eat the breakfast. I'm too scared. I'm not going to not eat the breakfast.
deprogramming yourself, washing your brain of concepts and beliefs that don't work for you anymore. It doesn't mean that those previous beliefs were bad, doesn't mean you were bad, doesn't mean your past expression was bad or wrong. It has nothing to do with that. It's all about, I look at the ages of 30 to 40 for a woman as her, maturing princess stage. For a man, it would be his maturing prince stage. So it's not quite the queen. You know, I look at 40 to 50 as queen in training. 50 plus is queen. So you're stepping into a more mature expression of your young woman. And in the earliest expression of the princess archetype, and when I say princess archetype, I know you know this, but it's not a negative term, it's not a pejorative term. It's just from an archetypal perspective. The princess stage oftentimes is defined by what you all think of me out there. So my value is given in how you see me. So if you love me, if you approve of me, if my looks are good, if my presentation is good, if you say I'm okay, then I'm okay and I feel good. And the world tells us, the world is constantly drumming into your head, my head, every head. Here's how you have to look in order to be one of the lucky ones.
Yeah, and even more so now I'm seeing it, even though I'm stepping away from just the fitness side of coaching, moving into the spiritual coaching side and starting to see people on social media. To me, it's like the same thing, but like just a few different bells and whistles in terms of how people are presenting themselves and the looks and the sales aspect of it all. And it's like, oh, here we go again. That's interesting. And I really am turned off by that right now.
Good for you for being clear. Really good for you for being clear. Here's something to try on. And I've experimented with this my entire professional life, which is how do I market myself? And I haven't always done this well at all, but how do I market myself, present myself authentically so it's in alignment with who I am? So I'm not being something that I'm not. It's one of the challenges that so many health coaches face, or fitness coaches face, or yoga teachers face this. Um, the belief that you have to look perfect, be perfect, act perfect, eat perfect in order to be in the industry called health, wellness, fitness, yoga, nutrition, whatever it is. And there's almost a little bit of glamour to it, that you have to be glamorous. And
Especially now with the way that people can Photoshop, filter, photos look more professional than they've ever looked before.
yeah, so how do you present yourself in a way that authentically feels good for you and is right for you? Because in my experience, as I started doing that more and more, my business became more successful as I just was willing to say, here's who I am, here's what I do, here's what I'm about, here's what I'm not about, here's what I don't do, here's what I do. And some of y'all are not going to like it. Some people will love it. Some people just could care less. And such is life. So it sounds like really finding your new expression, and you don't know what it is yet. You just don't know.
Yeah.
What an interesting place to be.
Yeah. So many different levels. And like you were saying, it really is very telling about where you are in your life and how I'm relating to food again. And even my body, I call it like whenever I am under, stress, even self-imposed stress, that's when I will tend to focus on my body in a way of a defense mechanism. Oh, this is what's wrong with how I look versus there's nothing to do. My body hasn't changed, from yesterday to today.
Mm.
It's the mirror is, it's what you want to see, really.
Right? We tend to look how we feel. You wake up in the morning, you feel good, you look in the mirror, you say to yourself, I look good. Next day, you could be the same exact person, except you wake up not feeling good. You look in the mirror and I'm fat, or I don't like myself. I'm old. I got a wrinkle. So you're interesting. Part of transition oftentimes is, and you've essentially said that you're doing this. You're really preparing to let go of an old relationship with your body, and you don't know exactly what your new relationship with your body will be, and therefore you don't exactly know what your body will look like.
And that's the thing is, you can intellectualize this and know that none of us know what our bodies are going to look like as we age and things change. And we really don't have control over this vessel to an extent. I guess if you're eating a specific way and you see that it gets you the results and you just keep doing that thing, that's a way of controlling your physical body. But I've always known that, like, this isn't permanent, things will shift and change, and they already have. So it's like an idea of myself that I've been fixated on more than what it actually is.
What do you think would happen? How would your husband feel if you weren't as toned and you weren't as fit and you gained 5 pounds?
He wouldn't care.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's not some. He's never been superficial in that way in terms of loving me for how I look, which is beautiful.
What's your biggest fear moving forward?
My biggest fear moving forward is not being successful. And that is very, very like, that's kind of super broad to say because what does that mean? What does success mean to me? And I'm unpacking that as well in terms of what I have looked at as like what success is to me. But financial success, being able to take care of myself and, have be able to do the things that I want to do, fulfill my hopes and dreams. And I equate me taking care of myself and being successful in that way to being able to fulfill those things. So that's my biggest fear is it all comes crumbling down.
Yeah. What's your biggest fear about your body?
That I will that I'll gain weight, that I won't look like, a fitness pro anymore. I'll just look soft. And I say that it's funny that I'm saying it out loud because is that a fear? I think that yeah, I don't know if it even is a fear. Maybe it's something that I've identified for so long as a fear, but I don't really know if it is.
Yeah. It does sound like an old fear, and it sounds like it's an old fear that doesn't have as much power anymore. It still hangs around, but it probably doesn't drive you nearly like it used to, not even close.
Yeah, for sure. It's like this, there's like residual, but the freedom, if I could really be free from it, would be the not even having the concern about my body changing would be nice to not to have neutrality around it, to be like, If it does, great. If it doesn't, great. You know what I mean? Just to feel like no attachment to how my body looks.
Yeah. So freedom, I'm interested because above all else, you want freedom. And I start to wonder then, how do you start to create freedom now so it's less of a goal and more of a practice? How can you practice freedom? What do you think that would look like for you?
Doing things without an outcome, without an expecting an outcome.
Mhm.
You know, I thought about this in terms of creation. You know, when you're a child and you decide, I want to paint a picture today, you don't paint the picture in thinking that it has to be done a certain way or be perfect, or you're not going to try to monetize your artwork when you're little. You're like, I'm just making this picture because I'm called to make art right now. And I think that that's a part of myself that I have not indulged in a very long time.
Mhm.
And I think that that would be something I can start to do now, is give myself permission to have enough space that I could just, if I want to paint, I don't have to finish the painting. I can just paint until I don't want to paint anymore, using that as an example, or whatever. Take a dance class, not to be good at it, just to do it, things like that.
I love that for you. How can you practice freedom when it comes to food?
I think I think it is going to have to come from that experimental place, but a place where it's not scary anymore, where I'm afraid of the outcome being that I'm going to get fat and something terrible is going to happen because of that, but more or less listening to my intuition, in that if you are not hungry and you don't want to eat breakfast, for example, it's okay to try and listen to yourself and do that and see what happens.
I love that for you also. That freedom is for you, a certain practice of listening to your intuition. Because oftentimes I'm sure you're an intuitive person and you've probably made a lot of intuitive decisions that have helped you become quote unquote successful and
Yeah.
helped you become the person that you are. I want to say, I want to make some suggestions to you around food and freedom and making freedom a practice around food. Part of it is you said, particularly when it comes to, like, let's say something like art or dance, freedom is doing things without the expectation of an outcome. So, yeah, I'm going to agree with you. That is freedom. Sometimes we get attached to outcomes only because we're human. And
Hmm.
you might find yourself, because you're in a transition and you're not exactly where you're going, you're on your way. So you're going to get attached to certain outcomes, or you're going to notice attachments. They might be fleeting, they might be small, some might get real strong. I don't know. But freedom can also be noticing when I get attached and practicing letting that attachment go. Because we get attached. It's okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we do. I've
So
witnessed it.
yeah, and I don't know that that attachment ever ends. It probably ends at the moment of death when you leave your body and you're not attached to your body anymore. I've witnessed the death of both my parents. I've gone through the deaths of, so many relatives, grandparents, aunts, uncles, friends. And one thing I've noticed is people fight to the last minute, stay alive. We fight, the body fights. We want to be here. We are attached to the body. It's the right thing. We want to be here. We want to be alive. and attachment energy in a strange way is good. Um, it's just that sometimes we get attached to things that don't serve us. So part of it is learning when you can set yourself more free, just when you notice you get attached, or you notice, oh yeah, I tried this, I experimented with this way of eating, and I don't feel good, or oh, I feel heavy. Then the practice of freedom becomes, how do you forgive yourself?
Yeah, I think currently I'm very attached to a current like way of working out that I've been doing for so long. And I was having this conversation yesterday with someone in terms of what would it be like to abstain from that type of exercise? Just play. Don't do that thing that you have been doing, which quite honestly isn't even feeling that great anymore. I'm sore. I'm not enjoying it as much. Those are all signs to say maybe you should give something else a try. But there's the attachment. So this is a perfect. That's a good thing. I've been thinking about that, and it is really scary to let go of those attachments. And it's not. It's this funny thing. It's like an intangible force of like not obviously nothing bad is going to happen. The world isn't going to come crumbling down because you don't do you know let's say you're like super attached to like push-ups. Nothing's gonna happen if you don't do your push-ups that day. But as human beings, we like cling to these things that we do, these habits, these ways of navigating in our reality. And it's like, yeah, it's hard to let go.
Yes, especially in a universe of food and nutrition, especially in the universe of fitness, because those those universes are filled with rules, they're filled with guidelines, they're filled with certainties, they're filled with experts, they're filled with here's what you're supposed to do, here's how you do it, here's how you achieve your goals, here's how you hit the target. There's a lot of energy that goes into that. So part of what you give up is giving up that kind of mentality. And again, I'm not saying that mentality is bad. It serves us when it serves us. Sometimes we need that structure, we need that intensity. We have to do it, we have to go through that. And maybe you return to it at some point. Maybe you never will. I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
But here you are right now, and you're letting go, and I'm just very impressed. I
Thanks.
think you have just all the tools that you need. It sounds like you have a great support system. And it sounds like you just have a very deep willingness to follow your inner voice. And that's what it's about. And that's what's going to take you to success. You could take all the freaking marketing courses in the world, and you could read all the best-selling business books. And what's going to take you to success, whatever that means, is just really trusting your inner voice, even when it hurts to do that, even when it puts you in uncertainty, even when it's going to make your body softer, or it might make it softer. So you're doing it. I'm very happy for you, and
Yeah.
very inspired by your journey.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, and it's been a long time. It's not like this has been just a really long time, really wanting to feel more freedom with food and my body. And this is like, I couldn't have been at the place I'm at now, even those years ago when I started to really be able to eat whatever I wanted and enjoy food and not have guilt anymore. This is like this next evolution of all of that, even, which is cool.
Yeah, it's in so many ways your the way I look at it on one level is you're valuing so much more how you feel about you as opposed to how anybody else thinks about you.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is really hard in the world we live
Yes.
in this society with, you know, having a social media presence and being inundated with all of that. And that's even something that I want to help myself in terms of, I'm in charge of what I see, what I consume.
Yes.
Not talking about food, talking about the other kinds of nourishment that I give myself. Like I'm in charge of that. And I'm looking at like all aspects of that right now.
Well, you're covering so much ground in your transformation. It can only go well. Might not go easy all the time, but
Yeah.
it can only go well at the end of the day.
Yeah, and it's the willingness to be in it, in the storm. I'm like, I'm willing to go into this storm right now. And I know that like there are aspects of it that are going to be like a little bit of like the dark night of the soul. But I've been there before, and I actually am kind of attracted to that anyways, like the dark side, because it makes the light so much better. If
Yeah.
that makes sense,
Yes. It's two sides of a coin. We have to be willing to go into the dark places to find the light sometimes. And not only be willing to go into the dark places, but sometimes life is just taking us down the elevator or
I
the
mean, it's
stairs or
happening
the
now
escalator. Yeah.
collectively. It's
Yeah.
happening for all of us in this world right now. We're
Yeah.
in a collective dark place, which is really cool,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. It's another opportunity to find the light.
Yeah, I've seen it happening for so many people. It's very cool.
Yeah. Juliet, what's one thing that stands out for you that you're taking away from this conversation?
I think just more reinforcement about that intuition that, is calling to me. And as I'm saying here that I want to go into the storm, that's a part of this, then that is letting go of certain attachments, and with compassion and love, and knowing that it's not this or that, it's all, in terms of one day I can experiment, and I am in control. I create my own reality. So if I want to go back to the old way of being, it's there waiting for me. There is no, it's not finite that if I don't do something for a day or a week, I think that this is a really great opportunity for me to experiment and trust my intuition, and allow myself to live into what I was saying to you, which is the freedom, what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So that's a big takeaway.
I love that for you.
Yeah.
Juliet, great work. I love
Thank
the place
you.
you're in. I love the journey that you've been on. And I think a lot of good things are going to come your way.
Yeah, I appreciate this opportunity. It's awesome.
It's great to visit with you. Thanks so much for your time. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Take care.
Hey friends, we're so happy that you've joined us for another episode of The Psychology of Eating with Marc David. Are you loving these episodes? Then simply subscribe and you'll never miss an episode again. We'd also love it if you'd leave us a comment below so we can hear more about your own journey with food and body. And if you're curious about what we offer at the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, including our internationally acclaimed coach certification training that's rooted in dynamic eating psychology and mind-body nutrition, please head on over to our website, psychologyofeating.com. Until next time, take care. And remember, having the body you want starts with loving the body you have.